Yeah, to start. After I finished my last final of the first year of law school, my wife was waiting to pick me up. She sat outside in our blue Civic, windows open. I opened the door and she handed me a slice of celebratory carrot cake. We started driving through the jagged walls of Provo Canyon, past the off-season slopes of Park City, into the plains of Wyoming. We turned south at Laramie, headed for Denver, and the sun dimmed. In the morning, we flew past the brown grass of western Kansas, winding through the plush rolling hills of eastern Kansas. That evening, we ate barbecue in Kansas City. God's food. On Monday, I was to begin working for a federal judge. Growing up, I wanted to be a lawyer. Yet I felt empty after the first year. I had been stretched, but I was not sure I had grown. I did not recognize the value of what I slaved diligently to achieve and was $12,000 poorer. The new job didn't help. I feel more comfortable with those less fortunate, and working for the federal judge, I was among the exact opposite. I met the clerks, Harvard, Michigan, top of her class at Vanderbilt. For the next month, I tried to fit in with the elite. I hated it. My next internship was with the Missouri Public Defender's Appellate Office. If there's a spectrum, my two summer workplaces were on opposite ends. The office could not afford to pay for my parking, so I parked outside downtown Kansas City and waited for a streetcar to take me the rest of the way. In Kansas City in the summer, the air is water and sweat materializes after seconds outside. I found respite in my new office. Fluorescent lighting, small windows, antiquated furniture. It was nothing like the federal courthouse. I was thrown into the work. I met clients, attorneys, investigators, and county judges. I was in the thick of it. The stakes were high and the odds of winning higher. With each assignment, my confidence grew, and I realized the power of what I had learned in Provo, Utah. Finally, there was an application of the endless cases and meaningless discussions. What I knew could help someone get out of jail. It could right wrongs. The summer moved on. I was confident and happy. One day, my supervisor and investigator, I joined my supervisor and an investigator on a trip to rural Missouri. A trip to the kind of town where being black and driving is reasonable suspicion. We were visiting a client in prison. It was somewhere between the Sahara and Hades outside. We stepped into the prison and, well, maybe it was North Dakota in December, intentionally uncomfortable. We met our client and sat. He was tall and skinny with empty eyes. We talked about his case and he talked about his life. When he was 14, he had sex, like teenagers do, but he was unlucky and now he was a dad. His mom worked and his dad was gone and he had a child. A few years later, he was in prison, accused of shooting a man who he was robbing. We talked about his kid and he started smiling. He told us his kid came to visit him recently and our client was ecstatic about remembering the visit. His eyes were alive. Here he was sitting in prison and all he wanted was to get out to spend time with his kid. He told us the lifers would attack other prisoners in hopes of guard and kill them. He told us he had seen people raped and stabbed. All he wanted was to be a dad. Then I was thinking about my kid and how happy he makes me, and how different my life would be if I was raised just 20 minutes away from where I was. This man was my age and grew up in a school district I played soccer against. So how could our lives be so different? As I pondered this question, I realized what I learned in law school gives me the tools to fight for him. I had the ability to tell his story in a way it had not been told before. I could correct mistakes that was made. Later, I met a woman serving 14 years for writing 2 bad checks. She was broke and had kids to feed and wrote a bag check at Walmart. The total of these 2 bad checks, $200. The total cost per year of her imprisonment, $30,000 to Missouri taxpayers. I was angry, but I had the tools to help. She had pled guilty to writing the bad checks to avoid going to prison and was placed on parole. As part of the deal, if she violated parole, she would serve the full 14 years. The town prosecutor determined defrauding Walmart of $200 was worth 14 years in prison. She took the deal, the worst plea deal in the history of plea deals, and because she was addicted to drugs, she violated her parole. By the time I met her, she had been in prison for 2 years. Unfortunately, once the plea deal is made, there's not much to say. But somehow in a town where there are more guns than people, and their favorite pastime is getting old cars together and playing real-life bumper cars in mud pit, the county judge was a former public defender. If we could get the case back in front of him, we had high hopes he would help. So we done. Read transcripts, searched cases, perused Westlaw, did lawyer stuff. It was like schoolwork, except with meaning. My client could not see her children, and we were desperate to find something which could help her case. Finally, we found an argument we thought might get the case back in front of the judge. But I was back in Utah. Attending school, happier, but still far from an academic. I got a text. She would be out of prison soon. We got back in front of the judge, and he thought the sentence was every bit as ridiculous as we prayed he would. I was thrilled. This is a real person's life. This was real injustice, and I was part of the correction. By stepping outside myself, I found value in the law and found a career I could love. I may not enjoy it in law school, but I treasure the tools it gives me. I turn back to my casebook and continue reading.